So I'm about to step inside. Now we're defining this an empty filter just to get the results in. Okay. And we're looping over the items in the score. So any iterable is at this moment pointing at the scores. That's because that's what we sent as a parameter. Now we're looping over the items one by one. Okay. For every item, so the first item here in the scores was 66. Now what are we trying to do here? Apply the function that is defined in the is a student on that value, which is 66. So now this is not above 80, so this condition should be false. So we're not going to execute line 16. So with this value is not going to be added to the filtered list, right? Now next value is 90. So that the application of the predicate, which we know it's the function defined, like the function is a student that takes the value. How about I step inside this? I'm going to step inside the predicate function to see how the predicate works. So I'm going to step inside this execution. Now see how it goes to the is a student. So the value that we sent was score equal 90, and this will return true. So we enter the if statement and add this value to our filtered list. Okay. Now let's try it one more time. Now we have our filtered list have one item. So next we have value 68. I'm going to step inside this predicate call because the predicate points to the same object of the function defined here. When we step inside, it will execute the code defined here, and the score is not more than or equal to 80, so it will return false. And then the if, of course, the if statement will not be executed, then we go to the next iteration and so on. All right, I'm gonna give you a few moments to process this because it's very important.
Can I explain line 12?
Line 12.
Yeah, like our filter, there is a predicate, what's the
Any what? Iterable.
Yeah.
So any iterable, this is a variable, right?
Oh.
It's a parameter. Yeah. All right.
So in this, we are filtering some values over 90, and we are putting those values in
Yes.
another,
Yeah.
another list.
In another list here, in the the implementation that resembles the filter returns a list, but the actual filter doesn't return a list. Let me just, can you just focus with me? We still have 2 minutes. I still have 2 minutes with you. Okay, so let me just finish the filter properly, and then we talk about the others later. Just focus with me for this last 2 minutes. So you can see, you know how it is. We replace that definition, long definition, with a short definition based on the lambda function. Okay. Now we don't really have to do this because there is a function built in already that is called filter that does that. The only reason we went into this similar implementation is just to see. It's important that we understand how it works internally. Okay, so this works pretty much almost the same way, except that it doesn't create a list. It doesn't return a list. It returns something. You will see, okay, let me just print it here. And I want you to figure out what does it mean. So I'm gonna print this here. I'm gonna print the output right away without creating a list based on it. So what does this look like? It is looks like something similar we've seen before. So it doesn't really show me values. What does this? Yes. It is the address of the object, but when I try to print, like, remember when we try to print the range, that is this? Range object. So that's what we call the generator object or the lazy evaluation concept. So it generates an object that would generate the values when we only try to read them. If we don't try to read them, it doesn't generate the values. Yeah, so that's why we need this list to read them all one by one so that we can see them all. Okay, and it doesn't have to be a list. It can be a tuple. It can be like any iterable. All right, and then it works exactly the same way I explained to you. All right, that's all what we have to do. Thank you.
So our